Hello and welcome back to the Ikko Ikki Abridged. Previously, the Shimazu threw away their last chance of stopping us, so we took all their stuff. We put down our rebellious vassal, the Mogami, but we did also face a number of invasions. We lost some territories. We did stop a Satake landing force by grinding them down against our castle garrisons. We stopped a Hatakeyama invasion as well, but then it's just happening again at the same location. To start with, we can use the mangonels we captured the last time the Hatakeyama did this to try and hit them a bit as they approach the castle. Once they're close, the angles won't really work for us. But we do actually grab a couple of kills shooting out of the walls, and I was using the manual mode to try and land some hits more accurately. It's a lot more accurate when you shoot manually. It goes pretty much the same spot every time if you keep clicking with exactly the same parameters. So that's good. I snipe away at the enemy's line, and instead of landing like halfway across the map like it does when you fire automatically, we do reliably grab some kills. Once that's done, it's just the usual really. They come in, we delay them as they come in, and then we hit them with a bunch of arrows and shoot them a bunch. And broadly speaking, that works out. Here we are a bit later with most of their stuff routing in and around the castle. This was a battle where, again, lots of units were stuck outside. It seems to often happen on this map. They have units that just sort of stand outside and don't attack. I figured we would end up having to wait out the timer again to grab the win. I was chasing down routers with these cav, but these routers actually dared to come back, which was cheeky, so I had to stop doing that. But as it happened, a while later, everything that was like hidden outside the castle decided to chain route or something, and we do just grab the victory without having to wait another 45 minutes for the timer to run out. So there we go, we won with negligible losses, and that's the Hatakeyama invasion over. We can't counterattack, so there'll probably be another one, but we're safe for a while, perhaps anyway. Annoyingly, this ninja sabotaged this little group of troops near Himeji, and I was planning to go out and try to counterattack the Uragami. Since we killed a couple of their armies recently and they've only got one castle, I figured there wouldn't be much there, but now we can't find out. Further west, we've still got issues with there being Kono armies in this general area. We saw two walking about previously, although we can't see them anymore. I figured at least one's going to be over here at this castle they recently took. I moved up and saw some troops guarding that bridge right there, not enough to stop us crossing if we want to. But I'm going for the ambush bait setup here because I expected there to be a big army somewhere, so I was seeing if I could get them to come out. And here's me doing a bit of naval scouting. Was trying to work out where a good place to land troops was, in particular looking for places where we can easily get there in one turn and minimize the distance so there are unlikely to be surprises. Here's an example of the surprises I mean. Like, there can easily be a hidden fleet that will stick you in its zone of control if you suddenly discover it. And now, realistically, if there was an army on that boat right there, it would be dead. So that's what we need to avoid, and I'm a bit paranoid about actually making the crossing because of that. Now the Uragami come and attack the castle that's not Himeji, ruining my plan. They went in the other direction here. Which means not only was it a good idea for us to not move out against them earlier, because they actually do have a full army, but we can now try and defeat it with this castle defense and then maybe move out next time. It's just a massive wave of militia, so even though we have inferiority here, we should be able to grab some nice routes and deal with this. Since it is just militia, we don't need any particularly fancy tactics, so no sacrifices going on or anything here, other than the usual sacrifices of garrison units to do most of the work. And looks like the enemy are going to make this easy for me. They're just standing there in front of my archers getting shot. Thank you very much. I already thought it was going to be easy, but that's going to help things out as well. As you can see, I'm just going to let the enemy climb up and fight my ranged units. We won't bother pulling them back, because even if we lose all of those ranged units, it will thin the enemy out so much they'll be basically dead afterwards. And here we are, afterwards, pretty much. The enemy are on their way out after we've lost control of the wall, and as they go out, we'll try and grab some more kills to stop them coming back. This wall over here developed into a ranged battle, which is actually kind of rare. Usually the AI would just be like, oh screw it, and send all of the archers into melee. But no, they stayed back, so we had a very prolonged archery battle. Of course, we have cover to use, so even though they had a lot of bows shooting at us, they're mostly not doing anything, and they have low accuracy and power, being only low quality trash as well. So we take those guys out, and in the meantime they sent in all of their remaining melee units and their generals, of course. to do the usual sacrificial strategy, so that's perfect for us. Now we can take out the 3 officers that were in this army as they rout. They're getting absolutely stuck in our troops. That's going to be the end of all of them, and most of their main army as well. So once again, the Uragami are defeated. Not sure how many more stacks of trash they can have, but hopefully we can get a counterattack soon before they just make another one. Also had a minor battle here against the Mogami remnants trying to suicide against one of my castles. Annoyingly, that ninja actually sabotaged these units near Himeji again, so the counterattack I want actually can't happen, and once again I just wait for a better opportunity. I do have a few units off to the west that could attack, but only like 3 or 4, so that probably won't be enough to take down the garrison, even if everything else at the castle is dead. So we'll come back to that. Obviously we didn't get the Kono ambush I was going for, so instead we're going to move up and just look for their army, or perhaps go for the castle. Didn't see much. I thought I'd initially go for another ambush plan, because there is a forest just beside the road, so we could do that. But I saw this group here's on its own. It looked like it wasn't in reinforcement range of the castle, so I thought I'll just go finish them off. But apparently it is in reinforcement range of the castle, and by the looks of the army split, they actually split out a bunch of units from their main force, which means the garrison would have spawned if I attacked. Not sure if the AI is being deliberately good at the game there, but some good moves from the AI. However, now we can do a siege draw-out using this battle, so I thought we might as well give that a go. My initial hope was that I'd be able to intercept their reinforcements to fight the 2 groups separately, but that didn't happen at all. They were able to run their reinforcements quickly towards this nice forested hill in their deployment zone, a very nice defensive position, and I didn't really want to attack it. So here we are. A while later I moved around to a better side and then started trying to bait the enemy out of the forest. Ideally we just need to get their ranged units out so we can skirmish with them and bring them down. But while this has worked in the past, in this battle it really didn't work at all. They were very good about going back into formation the moment they broke. It took several minutes to get this 1 unit to leave, so I took the chance to take out these bow samurai. But after it took so long to do it, I couldn't be bothered to try and thin them out. So we're going to go for a more direct strategy here. We will attack their forested hill, but you can see I've detached some troops to go and stand on the other side of the hill first, so this is a long time later basically. And while I was setting up for this, their general came out of the forest. Seems like he wants to challenge this group here, which is fine because we've got some Yari Ashigaru in the group who will be strong against him. And indeed, after finally getting him to commit to a melee, he loses, and that's perfect. The general himself, after the rout, is the only guy who doesn't manage to escape, so we bring him down, and that's an unexpected early assassination of the general. So that's a perfect start. Now our men set up and start moving up towards the enemy's rear, while we make our main attack from the front, and we really are just going to run wildly into the forest, not really making much use of our long Yari Ashigaru's long Yari abilities. You can see they're currently just standing there, not advancing, despite what I just said, and that's because we faced a little issue. When you target enemies, if the enemy unit suddenly goes hidden for a moment, it stops your targeting. So what happened was I targeted many of my units onto the enemy's archers while they were shuffling about or something, and then they disappeared halfway through the charge, so my men just stopped and stood there until I realized that had happened. Very good stuff, but eventually we do get the 2 sides to collide. Some of the units I very quickly put onto Yari wall at the last second, like these guys here. We've got a Yari wall on Yari wall action, but mine's longer. As you can see, the magical action taking place here, where the enemy can't get to me, but they can be attacked by me, so that will be a good fight. Elsewhere, something more normal going on. But yes, I think this is the first battle where we saw the enemy also using Yari wall formation, so it's getting to the point when the AI factions have researched this thing as well, so need to watch out for that. Here on the left flank we've got some great engagements going on, with enemy Ashigaru getting surrounded and attacked from multiple sides, so we can win there. My big plan of attacking them from the rear didn't come to all that much actually, because they had this 3rd line of troops at the back. While they didn't turn around, so we got a back attack on them, it's not a back and a front attack, which is what I wanted to sandwich them here. But no, we've got the enemy surrounded, but they're always fighting us in one direction, so it's not technically going to have any effect on their morale. Instead, we're going to have to do this in a more detailed fashion, defeating individual units by getting them surrounded. Right here I was trying to shoot into the flank of the enemy, but they spotted me and sort of got my archers into melee. Then I brought these guns over to also shoot into their group. and that seemed to do the trick. Some of them rout out of the group right after we start firing. That's very nice. So we're going to win out a bit on that right flank, and on the left we're winning out a lot. This was the part of the line where we did actually attack the enemy from front and back. So we've taken out several units, and now we can move in between the enemy's two lines, and this is where the action will really happen. Now we're going to have tons of rear attack opportunities. As for these fights, it's a pretty mixed bag. We don't have any particular advantages. They do have some good units, including samurai, to fight us with. Where the Yari wall magic was happening, we did okay, but in a lot of places it wasn't happening. So we have taken some severe losses on certain units. But yes, now it's party time. Now we can just rear attack everything with a bunch of free units, and that's going to clear things up. Loads of high strength samurai just rout, and then they're just going to die like instantly, and this battle is instantly over. A nice thing about Shogun 2 is it's a bit more generous, it seems, with not forcing you to chase reinforcement units. So while most of the enemy army were reinforcements, it still basically kills everything, even though I just ended the battle without playing the rout phase. So that is nice. We have sorted that out. The castle is now quote-unquote empty, although because the garrison is still there, we do need to do one more fight. Can't quite reach it with the main force, but my backup group is able to move along and make this attack. That balance bar is looking pretty good. However, now I'm going to do some real micro. I realise that even though that balance bar will only take like 5 men out of every unit, there's one unit with only 13 guys in it, so if they lose like 5 men, they might be disbanded, meaning the other, like 7 men, will be deleted on top of what we would normally lose. So I went ahead and did a merger before the auto-resolve. That will mean we come away from this battle with some single digits number of extra troops than we would have done otherwise. That is true micro and was completely unnecessary, but seems I did it anyway just for fun. So there we go, we've taken out this incursion. Still plenty more blocks of enemy territory inside our own territory to deal with, but we're getting there. On that topic, the Akazuki, who we've had under siege for a while, sally out. We've pretty much sieged them out at this stage. So they're out of supplies, they attack. That balance bar's good enough for me, so we'll just kill them with the auto-resolve. And in we move. Now their territory is ours, and we're very close to actually conquering all of Kyushu at last. The one thing we don't have is the area that rebelled against us thanks to enemy action. But over the last few turns, I've now brought up the armies that were down at the bottom of Kyushu, and we're nearly in position to attack. My main force can't quite reach it, but I can actually use the trash stack that just took Akazuki by moving it over, and then I could switch the commander of the main force into the trash stack in order to get extra movement points and move on to attack. Plus, one of the other main stacks from the south arrives from the south, and here we are. That balance bar's good enough as well, so we'll just take that one for free. And with this, now Kyushu actually is secure. The only part we don't occupy is the part controlled by our Ito vassals. And I like to think we can trust them now. They don't have the Realm Divide penalty because they were made after Realm Divide. So they kind of like us. They might not betray us. We'll see. Now we need to start thinking seriously about getting off Kyushu and moving to Shikoku really, but we've also got the pockets of enemy territory to deal with, and for this one I wanted to use something that was revealed to me in the comments of a previous part. Someone mentioned you can actually move through the mountain range at this part of the map, and yes indeed you can, so we can take a quote-unquote shortcut to get to the next bit of territory to attack with our long Yari Ashigaru army. Gonna take a while, but so does walking around, so we'll see what comes of that. Now with the Uragami, I'm finally able to move, no more ninja action, so I send forward some scouting Yumi Ashigaru to take a look, Yumi Militia in fact. And they discover that there is still some stuff here. They've got another half stack of trash good to go and a half stack garrison. But if you add up all of the stuff we have, we can match them here. I have a fair few units that were on either side of the Uragami prepared for defense, and I'd also been recruiting new ones recently thinking we might be able to make a counter-attack. So the addition of those couple of good units like those Katana Ron in there, plus all the trash we have, which is now kind of leveled up trash after all the battles they've been through, means we have this stack, which is probably about as good as their stack, and the balance bar seems to agree there, even though they do have a lot of melee trash. Our melee stuff's a bit better, and that's what will matter in a manual resolve, so good to see. The Kono drop another force on Kyushu. That's an annoying thing to keep in mind as we go for Shikoku. Kyushu can still be invaded in the meantime, so we might need to leave something there. And then we're straight back to this Uragami thing. because they sallied right away. That's perfect, I was going to siege them out until they had no supplies, but now a chance to end this as soon as possible. We had a little bit of a hill to sit on, and sit on it I did. As the enemy advanced, I was going for a skirmish with all my stuff up front. But as usual, the AI is not interested in that, they're just going to run for it. In this fight, they might have actually come out on top with a skirmish, because they do have a couple of good ranged units, like guns and bow samurai. But it's not happening, as you can see. So we're going to fall back instead behind our line of Ashigaru. There is some impassable terrain on the hill, so the formation is sort of messed up. But it's still looking good enough. And many of our units are in Naginata/Yari wall formation, and right here we stop those cav with the Naginata wall, and these infantry seem to feel the force of it as well. So that's all good stuff. On the left end of the line, we're outflanking them with these Katana Ronin, who are going to move down and be our shock assault unit. And on the right side of the formation in general, things are pretty good melee-wise, because all of our Katana Ashigaru are charging into these militia. They're going to get eaten up by the katanas, and then we'll have that right side just cleared up and can start folding in. The centre's a bit of a mess because there is some invisible, impassable terrain here, so units are kind of getting stuck on things and not being able to move into each other. But I did get some Naginata Ronin to attack the enemy general, so that's a good matchup. And here go the Katana Ronin with their mission. They absolutely annihilate this archer unit in mere seconds, and then they can move on to start rear attacking things, and that's going to do the business really. Those militia, already half dead from the fight, are just going to get out of there the second they get rear attacked. But since we're behind them, they'll die instead. And things are working out in the right centre as well, as we've ground down the enemy's weaker units and we're starting to surround the stronger units. And really the battle is already over at this point. They're getting out of here. It did last another minute or two longer because they had some bow samurai on Banzai mode, so they can't rout. So we spent a while fighting them while chasing everything else off the field, long enough that their general came back from routing, then rerouted, after realizing that's probably not a good idea to join into the fight at this stage. And there we go, the bows eventually go and we end up with that result. Didn't even see what it was, it doesn't matter, let's just move on because we have done it. The Uragami are gone, and with that we've now finally wrestled away all of our disloyal vassals. We still have big issues with public order across Kyushu, by the way. Thought I'd mention that since that is mostly what I do in the campaign and I'm mostly cutting it out. So props to me for somehow keeping this under control with the odd units and just walking them backwards and forwards between castles every time they threaten to rebel. But yes, Uragami are down, and you might also be thinking, how come we haven't been invaded by the shogunate? You may remember they had a, quite frankly, unstoppable army, and if it just came up here, I'm sure it would conquer all our stuff, but it hasn't come up here. I think that's just because there are rebels in the way and the AI has got a bit confused. It can't path to us and it hasn't thought about attacking the rebels. So we've actually been saved from fighting their really powerful veteran samurai army, and I'm just going to ignore that direction basically. I think we're safe from any sort of enemy attention. The rebels aren't going to do anything. So that means the units in that area can focus on going west instead to help out with our reconquest. We're in luck this turn because the crossing from Kyushu to Honshu is open. All the AI needs to do to trap my armies here forever is to block that crossing and then put a few ships near each of our ports, and we'd actually never be able to get our troops off of this island. Luckily, as I arrived at the crossing, there was a turn where there were no ships here, meaning we are across and 3 stacks are now onto the mainland, ready to gradually move into action. I have got 1 stack still on the island, and they're actually in a decent enough position to deal with the fact that the Kono have just landed a force nearby. My plan was to split the force between the 2 nearest castles, but I messed this up here. What I needed to do was have this group go into the nearer castle and then to the further castle, because that costs less movement than going straight to the further castle, an annoying quirk of Shogun 2. So basically we don't get that further castle garrisoned in the way that I wanted. Tried putting a ninja in the army because that makes your army move a bit further, but it doesn't work if they've already moved, as it turns out. Anyway, it doesn't matter because that huge mess I ended up creating is ignored, and the enemy do go for the nearer of the 2 castles, the one with most of my good units in it and my general, so that's for the best. And here we go, another pretty standard looking siege defense. We can probably bring this army down. We had a new map that I hadn't seen before for this one, and a new unit I hadn't used yet, these Katana. They curiously had an ammunition bar, so even though they were a sword unit, I threw them out on their own to see what that was, and it turns out they can throw grenades, so handy. We blew up a few enemies as they come in, although they also attracted a lot of attention from the enemy archers and didn't last too long out there. As for the rest of the enemy army, it's just attacking from all directions, and we've got all bases covered with our massive garrison inside. With the last few remaining Wicker Raiders, I got out of there and pulled them back towards the capture point, because if a couple of guys get back there, all the enemy archers that are still targeted onto them will start doing the old hook, line and sinker thing where they get reeled into the interior of the castle, and that works out just fine. Here on the northern wall, it's mostly my free garrison units defending against these climbing enemies, apart from these Yumi Ronin here. But the Yumi Ronin are good enough to hold these enemy trash units in melee, and everything else are also somewhat good, and it doesn't matter if they die, so we're just going to stand there, let them climb into the fights and hope that they lose, and indeed they will. On the west side of the castle, they're trying to sneak around with a few guys, but my firebomb throwers are giving the enemy hassle. And in the main section, they're coming at us with some better units. They've got some Naginata Samurai and Katana Samurai charging in. I'm using a couple of garrison units to hold them in place while our guns get to work on them. That's a pretty effective combination. They also had some guns themselves, but they chose to send them into melee over here at the eastern gate, where I had some Yari Ronin hanging out, and that's going to be a super favourable melee for us, especially when you consider some nearby archers are shooting into it as well. Everything's pretty much fallen into place by now. Had this free unit of garrison militia who are currently recapturing a tower. They had some gun samurai outside the castle, but they're just kind of hanging around. Maybe they were trying to climb up or something, but looks like it didn't work. That's another good unit out of the picture. And some Katana Samurai here are getting out of there, chased off by some explosions as our firebomb throwers get to work on them. Here we were helped out by these tents. By having my Katana garrison, Katana retainers that is, hang out near these tents while they're fighting to distract the enemy. The enemy are kind of trying to path through the tents to get to them and getting stuck. So not that much is happening there, and that's to our benefit, because where things are happening, the enemy are dying rapidly. Like right here, where they've once again sent some Bo Ashigaru into melee. That's not going to last very long or go very well. We also did win all those fights up on the northern wall, and at the last second, looks like they're trying something with these Bo Samurai, climbing them into the interior section. But they've routed. The balance bar is too far in our favour now. Looks like we have got this one in the bag. We'll kill the enemy as they go. Looks like this is the end for this Kono invasion at least. Most of our losses were concentrated on our freely spawning garrison units, so that all looks good. Their remnants retreat away, and of course at the start of the next turn we can freely group all of our stuff back together and finish them off. So that's that. Next time we'll try and stop this from happening again, because the Kono control the northern coast of Shikoku, and that's where I want to land. So we need to actually get on with that and stop them from constantly invading us, which, since they are the only faction that's really trying to naval invade us, might actually render us a lot safer. But as I've mentioned, the real issue is, can we actually get there in the first place? Well, join me next time to find out.